Market segmentation. This video is going to look at the topic of market segmentation, what the term actually means, and how this can be used in practice in a business. So firstly, let's look at some basics. The term market. What does it actually mean? Well, you probably actually think of a market being where somebody stands at a store selling products, and that's exactly what a market is. It's a place where a buyer and a seller comes together to exchange products or services. Usually that exchange involves money, but it could be swapping another item of a similar value. But a market is where buyers and sellers come together to exchange products or services. Now we have two different types of market. We have the business to business market, or B2B, and we have the business to consumer market, B2C. The business to business market is where one business will sell to another business. An example of this could be where Tesco, which is a business, will buy from a farmer, which is another business. So when that farmer sells the vegetables to Tesco, that's a business to business transaction, an example being in the business to business market. Where the business to consumer market is where one business, i.e. Tesco, sells to the customer, i.e. me. So when Tesco sells a product to me, that's a business to customer market. Now both markets are distinctly different. You think about the price that's paid in the business to business market, you will not pay as much per item because obviously it's going to be sold on again. But the amounts you buy will be much greater. So the quantities you buy in the business to business market are normally greater than the quantities you buy in the business to customer market. But the price you pay will be lower per unit. That's how businesses like Tesco make their profit. It'll also impact on the marketing you do. Imagine, business to business, a farmer doesn't go onto the TV and he doesn't advertise his potatoes that Tesco are going to buy because he doesn't need to. Tesco will form a different form of relationship. Probably the marketing that be used more personal selling, where the farmer would speak and have a relationship with a Tesco buyer. That's a business to business relationship. Whereas the business to customer market would be totally different. It would be more based around the ambient advertising, for example, or the digital advertising, or the auditory advertising, getting it straight out to the customer so that we know celebrity endorsements. So the way that you advertise and market your products is completely different in these two types of market. So we have smaller sub-markets, and you see there I've got a car there. Now within each market we have these smaller sub-markets. Looking at my car there, what type of market do you imagine will be the B2C market where you go if you wanted to buy a new car? Well, I'm hoping you've told me the car market. So in the car market, we can actually break that down into smaller chunks. You can see there I have an orange. Why have I got an orange? Because it's got segments. So imagine the outside skin of that orange being the whole car market. Now within that whole car market there are smaller segments that you can actually aim at. So that one car is unlikely to appeal to everybody in that market. But actually if we broke it down to smaller chunks, it's likely that we could probably pick off and aim our car at smaller segments and we'll have more success. So that's why we break it down into smaller chunks. And the idea here is that we design our marketing or even our product to appeal to each smaller segment of the market. If you're confused, don't worry, we're going to go into more detail now. So one of the ways we can segment our market is breaking it down by something called demographics, or demographic segmentation. So demographic segmentation is looking at things like the age of the customer. So you could design your product or you could design your marketing based around the age. So where you place your advert. So you might place an advert in the Times newspaper for an elderly person, whereas you might place the same advert if you're aiming for a younger person on Instagram. So the age could impact. Race could be another thing. You might look to change the product or the way you advertise based on the race of the customer you're trying to target. The religion of the customer. The gender of the customer. So it's not wrong to suggest that certain methods of advertising might be more appealing to males than maybe females. So it's well renowned that Facebook, for example, is much more effective at targeting males than females. There are certain colours that you're probably well aware, and we're not saying that it's wrong or right, but the reality is that the colour blue is more appealing to a male and the colour pink which is stereotypical, I know, is more appealing to a female, and that might be used in the promotions that are used. Just because it's a standard assumption doesn't mean it's the case for everybody, but that's how marketers try to work. You may try and break it down by family size. So the size of the family might have an impact on how you segment your market. You could do it by the ethnicity of the person. You could try and do it by their income. So are they affluent, so they're well off? Are they average income, or are they poor, for example? That might affect how you do your advertising and where you place your adverts. It might even affect the type of products you develop. Again, we can look at things like educational level, or we could do something which is called social economic group. Now, this is a way of categorizing people based typically on their lifestyle and their income. So you have categories like that go from A all the way down to category E. And if you're interested in that, give it a little Google, type in social economic group targeting or segmentation and see what comes up. Another word you might want to search for is something called acorn profiling. Very interesting way of doing it, and you can see where they profile you as a student, for example. But again, that is something that can be used, and you could target each one of them with the same product. So you could try and sell the same car to each one of them by doing different types of advertising, or you could develop a car, for example, that appeals to each of those different segments. If you think about Ford Motor Company, they have cars that appeal to all those different segments. Now, you could do segmentation based on the geographic segmentation. Geographic segmentation is what it says it is, your location. So, for example, a hot climate. So you could you could design products that only appeal to a hot climate, for example. You could design products that are only for sale in Europe. You could design products that are for sale in a city centre. Here's a classic example you might want to think about: small smart cars. They're all aimed in small city centres. Right, the UK, you might think, well, put on there. Well, we drive on the right-hand side of the road. So if you're making a car, you might design it for the UK market, and your advertising would have to be designed so that the driver is on the right-hand side, not the left-hand side of the vehicle. So you can see how it does have an impact on your location. The cold climate, so you might want to specialise in making clothes for cold climates, such as like North Face, for example, or Regatta, Craghoppers, anybody like that. They specialise in trying to target that area as well as go for the hot climate. Asian market, for example, a growing market at the moment that people are trying to look to get into. Whether you're in a rural area, another area you might want to consider. And you can even look at local. So you might want to break your segmentation down based on local needs. So wherever you're based, you try and appeal to those local needs. So that's what the segmentation is all about when you do geographical segmentation. Now, you can do psychographic segmentation. Now, that is more along the psychology. So, for example, your social class. So you could target people based on what class you think they are, based on their lifestyle and their income. You could do it to their attitude, so their attitudes to different products and their attitudes to lifestyles. Like, for example, if they are a higher social class, for example, they might like horse riding, stereotypical there again. But if you know that they like horse riding, then you would then naturally target people who are horse riders. Again, breaking it down to those smaller markets. And you could even do it based on the personality of the person. So you sort of spend a lot of money, as some companies do, learning about the typical customer's personality, and then they will design their marketing material to try and appeal to that type of personality so they buy into it. Typically doing that, you would then start to use celebrity endorsements, where you bring in celebrities who are most likely to appeal to the personalities of the customer that you're trying to target. And lastly, we have something called behavioural segmentation. Now, behavioural segmentation is based around what it says, the behaviour of the customer, typically. So it could be their spending behaviour. So how do they spend money, or what's their attitude to spending, right? Their consumption of a product. So do they consume a certain product, and does your product go hand in hand with that product? Or would it be useful to advertise or promote alongside that product? Usage. So how much is that product used? They are all behavioural segmentation methods. And last but not least is loyalty. And that's one of the biggest ones you've got. So like your supermarkets tend to segment based on your loyalty and on your consumption. If you've got a Tesco Club card or a Nectar card, you will notice that they send you offers based on your previous spending. So they've looked at what you've consumed, they've looked at obviously your loyalty to them, and they will use that to try and drag you back into the shop again. Quite clever behavioural segmentation going on there. So how does all that work? Well, our car is back, as you can see. Well, if you've got the car below and you want to appeal to a young, trendy, wealthy, single female, what promotion methods are you going to use? Take a moment to think about it. How would you reach a young, trendy, wealthy, single female? What promotional methods are you going to use? Well, these are just some suggestions. You might use digital methods such as social media like Instagram. It's well known that Instagram has more female users of a young age. It's also been carried out studies that have said that most Instagram users tend to be more trendy, tend to be more affluent. So there's the exact target audience to place that car on. It could be a visual way. You could do it using ITV2, for example. You might advertise there. Why ITV2? Because it's aimed at females. Certain shows are definitely going to pull in a young, trendy, wealthy, single female. So I want to get my car in the right place. I might even use some PR, some celebrity endorsement. I'll find somebody who behaviourally relates to that target audience that I've got. Now, I could place that car there. I could design my advert on purpose, make sure I use the right colour that I think is going to appeal to a female, make sure that I get the right style of car that's going to go for a wealthy, trendy, young person, because remember, you can kit the car out, so we're going to film everything to make it perfect, and that's probably going to attract them to buy the car. And we can do exactly the same here. We've got the same car again. We want to go for young, trendy, wealthy, single males now. So what are we going to do to try and reach our young, trendy, wealthy, single males? Well, I'm hoping the first thing you're going to do is think about choosing a different colour for the car, for example, whatever, how you want to kit it out. So we want to make sure that the actual product itself looks like it's going to appeal to our audience. But then we might go digital, we might go Facebook. We've already established that Facebook is really popular with the male market. And we can do some target advertising on Facebook to appeal exactly to that young, trendy, wealthy age. We could do some TV advertising, ITV4, aimed at males. Quest, Dave, even YouTube has got more male followers. So theoretically, we could put our adverts in the right place. As long as we've got the car looking good, we can place that car in the right place. And again, we can do some celebrity endorsements, but we might choose a different celebrity. We'll choose another celebrity who relates better to the personality, using our behavioural considerations here, to this young, trendy, wealthy, single male that we're looking at. And that is how market segmentation works. So what you need to understand is that market segmentation is all about breaking down the market into smaller chunks. And you can break it down by those different methods we talked about. So you can do behavior segmentation, you can do psychographic segmentation, you can do geographic segmentation, you can do demographic segmentation. Those are your 4 ways to segment the market. And you need to remember that that is so you can help to focus the promotional methods that you use to enhance the products you sell. I've got a video that I've made on promotional methods, which you can find on the link below. But make sure that you understand this topic. Don't forget to give it a like, a subscribe, and a follow. And until next time, keep buzzing.